everybody in here was asking some questions. I did get a couple more.
Okay.
So the first question was, what do you think, or how do you feel about some governors recently saying that if any illegals come into their state, they're going to be busing them to Delaware and or Washington, D.C.?
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, some of this might be like a political performance that they're doing, but hey, man, if we're gonna do that kind of political performance, that probably needs to happen. I would prefer they just bust them right back across the southern border. But to make a point, because the Biden administration has been flying people to random spots in the country, when I was down there at the border, I mean, they were busing people into the interior of the country, the border patrols and wherever they couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, I think it's great. Hopefully, Jay Inslee doesn't start fighting more here.
Yeah. What about term limits?
I've already signed the pledge for term limits. I don't plan on doing this for a career. That's my personal life, but also I think the reason why we're in the state that we're in right now is that we let people go to Washington, D.C. I think once you start getting up to 8-10 years, you need to leave the swamp and go somewhere else, run for a different office, go back to private life. I mean, we put really clear restraints on the executive branch, but for some reason, the guys who make the law never made a law about how long they can be there. I mean, I think Jamie may have been an okay representative. I don't think she was ever like a fire breather for us, but I think maybe for her first, couple terms, she was probably okay. Once you hit 10 years there, you've been in DC for way too long. You just need to go. So for me, I plan on doing it for 3 different terms, so 6 years, 2 years to fight the Biden administration, and then 4 years to give Trump a congressman he deserves.
What about the Electoral College? It's been a topic of debate and discussion. I mean, you look at any election map of the United States, it's a very solid red map with a couple blue dots everywhere. And a lot of people, well, of course, people on the left want to get rid of the Electoral College and allow New York and California to decide all elections. And then some people on the right have been bringing up different ideas on like maybe get a state like Washington and divide it up into 5 little parts. Like each state have their own electoral college, so Seattle doesn't control the whole rest of the entire red state that we live in. Same with Portland and Oregon. So where do you kind of stand on the electoral college? Leave it as it is, or maybe change it up a little bit?
I would say leave it as it is. If we start opening it up and saying let's make some modifications here and there, that might not turn out the way that we want it to. So I would defend it at all costs. Our founders were geniuses. They knew even back then that they didn't want a couple major cities controlling the entire nation. So I think it's key to defend. If we ever get a foothold in the governor's mansion or in the Washington state legislature, I would say presenting some form of a statewide electoral college would be awesome. But I wouldn't want to regulate that from the federal government.
Awesome. How are you going to help Washington? Like, we've talked a lot about the, going to federal this, federal that,
Yep.
But you're going to be a Washington state representative. How are you going to help all of us?
Yeah, so bringing back our manufacturing, I think the 3rd congressional district, we can be, I think, one of the beacons and champions of like the America First industrial revolution, for lack of a better term. At one point in time, our district, between the timber industry, between the fishing industry, between having energy sources with our rivers, ports on our rivers, we could be an absolute behemoth of manufacturing because we have access to the Pacific Ocean, we have access to all these ports. Our timber industry is heavily underused right now, bringing back the manufacturing, bringing back our actual lumber and timber processing, and just responsible forestry. And then same thing with the fishing industry, revitalizing that. We also have the potential here as far as like our actual intellectual talent and our the architecture that we have here to bring back the tech industry. There was a time when semiconductors and advanced microchips were made in the district, and a lot of that capability got shipped overseas to Taiwan. That's why Taiwan is so important. It comes up in some different conversations. We could bring a ton of that back here in the district. And those are high-tech jobs that people that are going and getting those tech degrees could actually benefit from. A lot of these are going to be big muscle lifts, but I think they absolutely have to happen for the sake of our country. But I think we have a great combination here of what nature blessed us with in this district, and so also our infrastructure is absolutely key. The I-5 bridge issue down in Clark County, really for all of us, it's a hot button issue because that bridge is extremely old. 205 is a ways away. It's a massive bottleneck, and what's horrible is it's I-5, it's a clear federal nexus because it's interstate commerce, from Mexico all the way to Canada. However, the way that this has been handled has been horrible. They're letting Clark County and Multnomah County fight it out. The federal government will come in every now and again. Jamie got a couple $1 million allocated that has to be given back. There's no federal leadership there. I don't think in instances like that where there's clear-cut federal interstate commerce, that two counties should be fighting over it. The county should definitely have a say in what happens because it's their physical property, but there actually needs to be federal leadership and federal funding that comes in to improve that. And I feel the same thing about our ports. And if we're going to bring back a lot of this manufacturing too, I think having the federal government come in to do some of the initial heavy lifts and then also the corporate tax incentives to bring these industries back. Law and order is another big one. I mean, right now, I think in Washington State, we're always going to be in this bad position. I hope the whole state changes, but where we're going to need really bold Republicans in the few places that we have Republicans. Because Olympia right now, what they've done with the policing bill, as a federal congressman, I can't change the way that Olympia passes absolutely insane bills. But what I can do is I can go after the sanctuary cities, cut off their federal funding. I can also reward with law enforcement grants that I'm not giving to places like Portland, Olympia, and Seattle. I can give those federal law enforcement grants to sheriff's departments that are doing their best, sheriffs that are elected by we the people, that are constitutional sheriffs that are trying to enforce law and order, help them stay above and enforce some basic law and order, or even have the marshals, the FBI come in to do some form of law and order in times of crisis.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Going. All right. Last question, and then I'll just let you close it out after that. So a couple people have called you a rhino.
Oh, already?
What would you say to that? Yeah, already. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's a new one to me. I don't know why I'm a rhino already. So no, I'm an America First guy. Like I got really disenchanted with the Republican slave to the free market, ship all of our jobs overseas, go fight endless wars, and have unchecked legal and illegal immigration. I got really sick of that in the Bush era, became a Ron Paul guy. Trump brought me, when Trump took over the Republican Party, he brought me back to the Republican Party. So I first got active in politics by speaking out on behalf of Trump's foreign policy, which was an affront to the GOP establishment foreign policy, which we're seeing play out right now with Ukraine and Russia. So I am very much a populist nationalist, America First, Trump supporter. Really can't stand much about the GOP. I'm anti-Kevin McCarthy. I'm not going to vote for him. So I don't know what to say to that other than if I don't do what I say, once I get into Congress, then primary me and get rid of me.
It's a good enough answer for me.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to tell these wonderful people or the people who are watching?
Really just thanks for coming out. If this is the first time you've heard from me, go to joekentforcongress.com, check the events tab. We're coming to a town hall near you. If we're not, then let us know, joe@joekentforcongress.com. Email us and let us know where you'd like us to come. Any group of people that want to hear from me, that want to ask me questions, I'll even come to you. It's important that we unify the party. It's important that we send a clear message to the swamp and to the establishment that we the people are in charge and not our ruling class any longer. So joekentforcongress.com is the place for more information. So, and then thank all of you for coming out as always.
One last question.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proud